All right, here we go. Today we have comedian Ali Siddiq in the building. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Hey, man, thank you for having me, man.
Of course, of course. You know, we have a mutual friend, Willie D.
Willie D.
Yeah.
DL.
DL. A lot of people in common.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we were actually born in the same year. We were talking about that before the interview.
1973, the best year ever.
Ever. I'm a couple months older than you, but you know, we're both class of 91.
Are you older than me?
June 28th.
Yeah, so October, yeah.
Exactly.
A little older.
Exactly. Well, it's first time here.
I was probably walking first, though.
Wait, say it again?
I was probably walking first.
You probably were. You probably were. I was a little slow, you know, at the beginning. Well, it's your first time here, so I want to start at the very beginning. Born and raised in Houston, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you grew up in the 3rd Ward?
3rd Ward and Southwest Side.
Okay, and you have how many siblings?
I grew up with one, but my dad was still out here producing, so we think he it was like 5 of us, I think. Yeah, the last one is not confirmed yet, but he is definitely look like my father.
Okay, so were your parents actually married or just?
Yeah, my parents was married, so it's my older sister, my young sister Ashley, who passed, my brother Darius, my little sister Naomi, and then this guy, I can't even remember his name, but he approached me in the club and said that he thought we had the same father. Looks like a lot like my pops, though.
Okay, well, at one point your parents split up.
Yeah.
And you went to go live with your mother initially?
Yeah, my mom initially.
Okay, and you were living in the projects for a while, but not permanently.
I don't even think it's the projects. It was just some apartments that wasn't ideal to our living condition.
Okay.
Yeah, they were called Willow Ridge Apartments.
Mm.
Yeah, and then from Willow Ridge Apartments, we lived in some apartments called Hillcroft Square, which is affectionately known as the Swamp.
The Swamp.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was listening to your comedy special on the way here, and at one point you talked about how your dad ended up taking you to go live with him for a little while?
No, I actually asked. My mom,
Okay.
he asked, and I jumped out there way too early. I was like, yo, I'll live with you. And my sister was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. She's like, I've been knowing him longer. You might want to roll with what I'm saying. So I went to go live with my father that was not really prepared to be a pops. He wasn't there yet.
Oh yeah, you went in on that special talking about living with your dad. You were saying how your mom would buy you name brand sneakers. Your dad would be at the grocery store and see some shoes and say, okay.
Those are the shoes. Like, sometimes parents raise you like they were raised. My mom, all name brand canned goods and cereal. I'm like, Fruity O's? What the hell is Fruity O's? I'm used to, it had my cereal had a mascot. Grew up with the frog and the toucan. Like, my dad was like, yo, look, this bear. Like, what's this bear? Like, sugar. It wasn't Sugar Smacks. It was like some random bear. He didn't even look. He looked tattered. I was like, yo, man, this is not the cereal I'm used to.
I think the funniest part of that special is you talk about how your dad woke you up at midnight and said, hey, man, I'm going out of town. And you're like, well, I got to go to school. So you're not going out of town. I'm going out of town.
Yep, he was going to San Antonio.
Okay.
Which is like 2.5 hours away. I'm like, yo, you going out of town, fam? Man, he's like, man, you know how to get to school? Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm gone. Yeah, my dad was something.
So you just ditched you and your sister and
no, my sister wasn't there.
Oh, she went back to the mom?
She never went to my dad.
Oh,
like,
it was just you?
It was just me.
Oh, okay.
When I packed my stuff up and went to live with my dad, my sister was just looking at the door like, he'll be back. He'll be back. He won't last a week. And like, yeah, I lasted 4 years.
Damn. So from what age to what age?
From 10 to like mid 14, because then I went live back with my mom.
Okay. Now, when your dad went out of town, your dad was selling drugs at one point?
Yeah, my pops was selling pills and powder cocaine.
And when he went out of town, he had you take over the operation at like 14,
No, no,
13,
10.
10.
That was the first year. That was the first year that I lived with him. He was like, "Yo, some people gonna come to this door. You know what the stuff is." I'm like, man, I never really knew what those pills were, and I never knew what was in that bag. And they would come, I would hand them. They would get the money first, close the door, and then hand them the stuff, which was, I guess it was standard operation.
Yeah, Father of the Year. Here we
Drug
go.
drug dealing wasn't. I kind of explained to people, drug dealing wasn't the same as what people see now. Because my pops never sold crack. It was no crack back then. 19. You got to think it's 83.
83, yeah.
I'm 10. There's nobody smoking crack. This like, and these people were prominent people. These wasn't people that looked torn up. These were people who had jobs and were doing it because the pills were speed.
Oh, okay.
The pills were speed, and then the powder was powder cocaine. So he sold to like lawyers and people of that nature. It wasn't crack at that time.
Right, 'cause it was more expensive.
It, it was my dad lived in a nice. I still haven't seen to this day a townhouse that had these windows. My dad windows at least 40, 50 feet.
Damn. Okay.
It was a big. It was a when you come into it, and that was the back. The front was like panoramic in the front, where it was like a lot of windows because he had a lot of plants in his window. Speaker system, reel to reel, big. He had the big house speakers in his house, stereo system. I think we were that was the first time I was introduced to cable.
Hmm.
You know, he had a floor model TV, a big one, and yeah, drug dealing was different then. It was like a classy man's situation. It wasn't the heroin era. It was the cocaine snorting era. So all the women looked great. All the dudes were like smooth dudes, and they would put it on their gums. Snort a little bit. They had spoons. This is when they had like tools for cocaine.
A little Coke spoon,
A
yeah.
little Coke spoon.
Yeah.
And then other dudes had they had a long
Yeah,
nail.
the long fingernail, yeah.
And my dad used to. What did he ask me one time? Did I ever notice the dudes with all the rest of their nails were trimmed, and they had one long nail on their pinky finger. That's when they was snorting.